possible. At Tupelo Smiles, we use precision dentistry and advanced technology to make visiting the dentist an amazing experience. Relationship-based comprehensive care. Come discover the difference at Tupelo Smiles.
You may see a teen struggling to find his way. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we see a teen gaining the confidence and skills to land his first job. Kids today need people to see their potential and help them achieve it. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we do whatever it takes to help kids succeed. Because when we see young people, we see limitless possibilities. Do you? Join us, Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Waupon. Hopefully you and your family have had a wonderful and safe and happy holiday weekend and hopefully made it a good 3-day weekend. Mother Nature largely stayed out of the mix there, other than the fact that maybe a few folks might have hoped to be a little bit warmer for some of the bodies of water. Though it's still pretty nice out there. Room to Room Weather Center here. Of course, we're joining you this evening from Tupelo as we are looking at what will be some of our best rain chances ahead tomorrow. And it could, in some cases, include your morning commute. We'll look at where Futurecast is placing those best chances here in a couple of moments. We are largely keeping the extreme heat at bay. Listen, this is still beginning of September. We're going to be hot. We have 90s in the forecast for at least one day. We're checking when that returns, but at least it's not extreme heat. But we are also watching the tropics and the very latest for some areas of development as we switch over closer to the peak of hurricane season, which comes now just 10 days from now. Things expected to get more active. We are looking at how things go between now and that peak time period. Of course, hurricane season goes all the way to the end of November, so we still got quite a ways ahead still for us. 8 to 10 right now, showing up with that mix of clouds. This just little bits of cloud cover there, mainly middle to high level clouds. 84 degrees as of this hour, about as nice as you're going to get out there. Feels like adds about 4 degrees, which is slightly more than it has been recently, with the stickiness factor maybe just slightly more noticeable out there in Oktibbeha County. Macon coming in around 86. A northeast wind at about 5 miles per hour. Mostly humid air still trapped south of front that's down around the Gulf Coast. And of course, we're on the side of that we benefit from these more pleasant conditions because of that. And 88 degrees in Oxford at this time feels like around 86. Again, that mix of clouds out there as we look back toward the more northerly direction there. So again, 7 p.m. we're looking at a maybe chance for a couple of isolated storms. We're probably overdoing it at 20% on that coverage, probably closer to 10. Either way, we're going to start to see a slight uptick, I think, in some rain chances later on tonight. I probably should have taken the percentage up slightly more for early tomorrow. And you'll look at Storm Tracker, and the reason why I'm kind of huffing and puffing on that one here in a minute. We'll go mid-60s to begin the day as we start off your Tuesday morning. You know, we are now in a new month, which is always a good time to reflect back toward the month we just exited. And looking back at August, for most of us, you could see a lot of us in those brown and orangish colors where we had a lot less rainfall than we typically see for this time of year. Only really some folks back out in the Delta and a small stretch from Lafayette back toward some sections of Pontotoc County, also up toward around Prentiss County. But the vast majority of us well below our normal for this time of year. In some spots, as much as you could see 2 to 4 inches less than we typically would see for August there in and around the Columbus area. A deficit of 1 to 2 inches around Amory. So we did have those pockets where it was more significant. But obviously we need some rainfall. I think from here we do likely see a little bit more over the course of the next couple of days. Though it's not going to be a significant amount of that. As we wind things out here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar here just for a moment, you'll notice here the more significant rainfall back out into Alabama this evening. That's where the majority of that is going to stay for this evening time period. But we're watching this little wave back out into Arkansas. I'm going to bring it in a little closer out in that direction. And this is kind of associated with our slightly better rain chances that we have ahead. I'm going to put this on satellite. We're going to put this this on our visible satellite perspective out there, and you can kind of see some of those more brighter cloud tops there as that little wave moves toward us. I think later on tonight, that will start yielding slightly better rain chances that could extend to the first part of tomorrow morning. Now, notice on Futurecast here, does not have a lot of activity, at least initially. I'm going to slide this a little closer to the northern part of the state here, as you can see. Just a few little bits of green there, with the majority of the rainfall really as it has been out into Alabama. A few more sprinkles down toward Crystal Springs and Jackson, but notice how we kind of have this general area, just a little bit of extra lift, and take the moisture we already have in place, and that'll yield a few showers and thunderstorms potentially overnight. Now, when I say thunderstorms, we're not talking severe weather out of this, thankfully. But again, some isolated rumbles, not impossible with this 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is a little more than what projections had even a couple of hours ago. So definitely an uptick on the rainfall, and that means there's a better chance to possibly have some wet roadways for your morning commute. So build in a little bit extra time. Check out our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley. She'll be here in the Room to Room Weather Center starting at 6:30 a.m. Live updates right at the half hours at 6:30, not 7. And at 7:30 a.m. to get you out the door and let you know, of course, where those showers are and help track those for you. That little wave, 9 o'clock in the morning, does start to exit out into Alabama. We expect to see a rebirth of some showers and thunderstorms as we go into the day as well. So over the next 24 hours, we're 67, as you can see, 6 o'clock in the morning, 73 by 9 a.m., 81 by noon, and mid-80s by afternoon for tomorrow. Rain coverage around the... Well, as you saw a moment ago, I got to come up on that percentage for 6 a.m. We're going to adjust that here during the commercial break up just a little bit more and that initial wave. So some questions as to how quickly that we regenerate, but I think there's still enough lift to probably be around 30 to 40% on that rain coverage the latter half of the day on some southerly sort of winds. In 60 seconds, of course, we'll look at where Futurecast is placing those later day rain chances. We're also, of course, ahead looking toward the tropics, which, as we mentioned a little bit ago, expected to reach their peak later this month. What is out there cooking in the Atlantic? We have the very latest on what we're looking ahead toward that as Mississippi Live Weather at 6 continues here live from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
At Room to Room, did you know our specialty is custom ordered upholstery? Get the furniture you want and the fabric and color selection you want. With our free design service, we won't let you make a mistake.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
One in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Well, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. High temperatures over the course of the next few days here. As you can see, generally speaking, above our normal for this time of year. Today, we hit 91. 90 as we look toward later this week. Apparently, I do not have a pause on that one, so let's stop this. Let's go back, because I wanted to show that here real quick. Give me just a second here. And I'm going to change that pause to pause until user action, because I have opinions. Okay. Let's go back to this here for just a moment. So as you can see, later this week, I think we spike back up closer to the 90-degree point. A front probably drops us slightly more as we go into this upcoming weekend. But yeah, normal this time of year is around 90. It's just a reminder how pleasant we have been recently. And we're not done, obviously, with the 90s for the year. And there's always, that one other hot stretch and waiting around the corner. So we're hoping we can keep that one at bay long enough that maybe all of a sudden we just wake up and it's fall. And technically, meteorologists start referring to the beginning of September as meteorological fall. So in that way, we're almost there. It's 67, that temperature, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. There we are, up that rain chance slightly more, 30% of noontime, 40% as we look toward 3 p.m. and into tomorrow afternoon. We're going 86 degrees for the high for tomorrow. Again, slightly cooler than we were for today because of slightly greater chance to have some isolated showers and thunderstorms out there. Here's a look at Futurecast. And again, you can see for this evening, still most of those spotty showers out there into locations back toward around Alabama. But in general, most of us probably still in a fairly dry pattern. Wider shot here shows kind of some of the players. You come down here in the Gulf of Mexico and you see this front, this stationary front here again, limited on how far north it can go. And so this is where the real sticky air is. And that's the reason why the, I guess, humid factor, the summertime feel, we're not all the way at a 10 out of 10 on that because that is largely keeping things at bay at this point here. In saying that though, we do have this weak wave moving in from the west and that will enhance some slightly better rain chances later on this evening as we showed you a moment ago. So it's coming slightly closer here. And again, maybe one or two rumbles with this batch there, Yalobusha County, back toward around the Golden Triangle, but mostly these obviously well below severe limits and moderate rainfall the main impact. Honestly, it's more likely than anything else just to put out a little bit of precipitation that makes those roadways damp and that extends stopping distances. With the morning commute being what it is, build in an extra probably 10 minutes or so to wake up slightly earlier to check out our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, 6:30, 7, and 7 a.m. We are live all three of those times. She'll have updates on what Mississippi Live Weather Radar looks like at that point and time. As you can see, temperatures tomorrow morning, about 64 degrees in Water Valley. We're 66 in Grenada and Eupora, about 65 Tupelo, and 64 Boonville, Iuka as well, about 64. Senatobia, Oxford as well, coming in about 64. So that initial wave there, again, some isolated showers and kind of this lingering chance, as you can see, 7:38, 9 o'clock in the morning for some of those isolated showers to develop. One or two of those Greenwood back toward Kosciuszko, a little bit heavier. All this talk about showers though, and let's be clear on this for a second. Yeah, there's a lot of locations that don't end up seeing much in the way of showers, right? Because again, through noontime into the afternoon, the vast majority of us still showing the gray from the clouds and not the precipitation out there. So we will say 30, maybe 40% on that rain coverage. I'm really interested to see what our late evening run of the HRRR model, that's what this is, what that ends up showing. Because it's really come up on rainfall from midday when this longer range one comes out. The reason I'm not showing you that is it doesn't exist at this point here, because the models run a short range and a long range at 1 p.m. this time of year, and then at 7 p.m. those are our afternoon time frames. And the 1 p.m. one had a lot less rainfall than what the higher resolution one that came out last hour has. So I expect the coverage of rainfall probably be a little higher on this. We'll be able to check that out coming up during our 10 o'clock broadcast for the latest on that. High temperatures expect to be somewhere in the middle to upper 80s, close to the 90-degree point for a few locations back out here in the Delta. Greenville 89 degrees in Greenwood, 88 degrees there in Grenada. I'm going to stop this for a second here. I'm going to go pull up a different model for a second, one of our other higher resolution models for just a moment here. And I want to see just, this one tends to be a little bit more aggressive on precipitation. And I'm just curious to see if it will be. First off, it's underdoing the morning chance here, our strike model. I'll see what it does through midday in the afternoon. So again, a few more of those isolated thunderstorms popping up midday. I just want to see if it's, you see, this tries to back build. That's part of the reason I didn't choose this one initially, but this newest one came in just in the last few minutes. So I want to get an idea on that. Now there's that greater quantity of showers versus what the HRRR model has. So here's what we have going on here. One that says we go fairly heavy on the coverage of rainfall initially in the morning, and then that could use up some of the fuel that's out there that we don't regenerate as much in the afternoon. So again, at 10 o'clock, we'll be funneling that down a little bit more, but I just wanted to kind of give you both ends of the way that trend is kind of going at this point in time here. So as we kind of pick things up here and look more at the latter part of Tuesday night into your Wednesday, notice how, again, some spotty showers still around. This brown line represents a trough. It's not a true front. It's just kind of area of general lift that's kind of working to produce some of these isolated showers out there into your early Wednesday morning, and then continuing to kind of redevelop some of these midday Wednesday as well as that kind of moves into the area. A fairly decent chance there. So I'm going 30% on that rain coverage Wednesday. Notice how it also does kind of split around some locations. So we were finding that as we go forward as well. But the pattern is not particularly wet. While we do have some chances there, that's not an overwhelming, impressive chance on kind of the wider shot here. Our nearest front at that point in time kind of up to the north, sweeping toward us, but we're not expected to have really much in the way of cooler air have a big impact on us. Hopefully that produces a little bit of lift to bring us some rain chances that extend into Thursday. I'm just not as impressed by that. High temperatures, middle to upper 80s out there, about 86 degrees Tupelo. We're 89 in Greenwood, 88 degrees in Grenada. Everybody below that 90 degrees where we typically would expect to be for this time of the year. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. 30% on that rain coverage Wednesday. I debated Thursday a lot. I had a percentage on, then I pulled it off. I had it on, then I pulled it off. It looks like that front largely up into Tennessee, more of an impact than it is down here into Mississippi. We'll be adjusting that, hopefully. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to go up a little bit on that percentage there. We're 90 by Friday, 87 degrees by Saturday and Sunday. Again, looking fairly dry into this upcoming weekend. Of course, that normal high for this time of year, 90. And we had, of course, today, back for Friday, and probably by the first part of next week with some of those chances pretty close to that. Now, we are looking beyond that at our next overall pattern as we see the shift. How are we looking as far as temperatures go in that 8 to 14 day time period? Again, if this is 7 days, going from that to 2 weeks out. We'll look at that in more detail here in a couple moments as Mississippi Live Weather at 6 continues, live from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
At Absolute Restoration, our team will feel magical since our focus is on serving you and your roofing needs. Finding a roofer who actually shows up and communicates, that's just one of the problems we solve by informing you of every step in the process.
Selling premium roofing systems backed by warranties and payment plans starting at just $99 per month. Trust Absolute Restoration to deliver.
Experience unicorn-level service and affordability from a team your community trusts. Call Absolute Restoration today.
You may see a teen struggling to find his way. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we see a teen gaining the confidence and skills to land his first job. Kids today need people to see their potential and help them achieve it. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we do whatever it takes to help kids succeed. Because when we see young people, we see limitless possibilities. Do you? Join us, Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon, and we are watching, again, for most of us, what looks like slightly below normal temperatures, at least better odds toward that as we head into the second week of September. So we're in the first week right now, and then next week, odds are pretty decent that we'll have those temperatures running a little bit below our normal for this time of the year. Again, not a guarantee, but when we kind of look at these longer range projections, this shows that chances of being below normal about 40%. That's pretty decent, all things considered. And on the wider shot here, when you start looking at those darker blue colors, obviously a much more elevated chance up to the north. The issue is this. You go 8 to 14 days out. So middle of next week to, 2 weeks out. So we're looking at what will obviously be more likely to be above normal temperatures. So no shock, because there's only so much cold air to go around. We start getting kind of cooler for a little while. We tend to flop back the other direction, especially this time of year when you don't have an overall dominant pattern. And as far as precipitation goes, let's go ahead and show you that for 6 to, basically next week to 10 days out or so. And below normal, and if you go beyond that as well, we're closer to what we expect for this time of year, which typically isn't much, so no huge shock in that regard. Let's look at the chances here that we're going to have something going on in the tropics, and to show that, we're going to show satellite, and I think we can do the ultra wide here. I'm going to go with the water vapor, which allows us to kind of look all the way out there into the Atlantic of the various waves that we have kind of moving around. I'm going to make this a 24-hour loop, and I'm going to make it go pretty fast here. And let's watch that rock and roll there. I might have to go just under 24 hours, or it's going to flash on me. Let's do 12 hours. Not a lot here. The central portion of the Atlantic, there's just not a ton going on at this point. There is one area that we're watching all the way back out there closer to Africa. And this is where a lot of times those waves come this time of year, all the way out there from Africa, work their way across the Atlantic, gradually strengthen if everything goes well, and then become the hurricanes that we end up tracking for long periods of time. Well, that is a zone where most of that area at this point is a little bit less impressive. We got to go, though, all the way out there. There is one area kind of just off of the African coast there. This zone here, as we're kind of waiting for one of those waves there to kind of get out in the ocean, Very little chance of development, we'll say the next 2 days or so, but you get out there beyond that, and a couple of those waves get out here in the Atlantic, and it's a slightly more beneficial zone to see some development. So we're at 50% chance, it's a medium chance that we start getting that develop into full-fledged tropical system. Here's the deal, this time of year, we expect that. We're approaching the peak of our hurricane season. And so with that in mind, again, that's kind of the wider shot, of course, showing the disturbances that we have out there. But this is where we typically see them in August. Again, out here largely, we can sometimes get these development right near the coast, but most likely out there in the central Atlantic. By September, you see how our colors just went up a couple notches, August, and then September here. So this is really the zone that we have to watch out there in the central Atlantic, and certainly that is where we're kind of expecting, again, more development in the next week or so. So this is not uncommon to be looking at what we're looking at as far as that's concerned. And let's look at one of our higher resolution projections for where we can look at that. So this is the GFS model. It's one of our long-range projections that we can see. And this entire zone where we see kind of what we have, this area convergence, sometimes called the intertropical convergence zone there, that is where you can see from time to time these waves. So I'm going to step to this side. And again, this is a high-res projection. It's wrong. Let's just come out and say it. Anytime we show one of these, they're wrong. The question is just how wrong. Maybe a little wrong, maybe a lot wrong. And you can see how that one has a tropical system somewhere way out there in the Atlantic starting to develop and potentially become a full-fledged hurricane. That is climatologically, meaning this time of year, expected. So not shock at all. That particular projection has that going fairly far north. And when they get that far north, a lot of times they recurve northward. We will see as we get a little closer, but certainly disturbances out there. You can see a couple areas over the next week or so. But of course, September 10th is the peak of hurricane season. So if models weren't showing anything out there in the Atlantic, that would actually be infinitely more shocking. And so certainly one of the things that we will be watching going forward. Of course, if you want to stay in touch with us, probably the best way to do that is the Mississippi Live weather app, free and available for all of those different devices there, iOS and Android devices. And just download that by snapping a shot of the screen, and you can pick up that device. And of course, we want to remind you that our next live broadcast will be tonight at 10 p.m. for Mississippi Live Weather at 10. We hope you'll join us then. And of course, Maggie doing a great job, 6:30, 7, and 7:30 a.m. in the morning. She'll be live. And of course, she will have interactive radar there talking about where the rain chances are around the region, because we definitely are going to have some of those around as we look toward early tomorrow morning. Before we go, I want to bring things back over here into the Room to Room Weather Center for a moment. And a reminder that we are doing our Mississippi Live football game of the week, and that is going to be this Friday night. We have asked you to kind of submit your nominations. Last week, it was Amory at Pontotoc. And we've had a lot of folks already kind of chiming in as far as that is concerned this evening. Of course, Skunk Bowl this weekend, Boonville versus Baldwin there. A lot of folks recommending that one. Smithville Hatley, another one of those that's kind of showing up over and over again. Louisville at Shannon. I'm not throwing out those three because those will be the three, but it's not impossible there. Tishmingo versus Biggersville. So it looks like a lot of options. South Pontotoc, hoping to have us come on as well. If you would like to nominate your school, and then we will pick three from there that we end up allowing you to choose between. We have posts there on Facebook with that. Starkville at West Point, that'd also be a pretty good one. That is always a great game there. So a lot of good options this week. Man, Smithville at Hatley. It's going to be hard to beat that one. We will see, but we're going to put those nominations on there, and we'll have those up online either later tonight or early tomorrow morning, and then you will get to pick where we're going for our Mississippi Live football game of the week. So excited for that, and excited for everyone for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. And we will see you tonight at 10 o'clock for the very latest information right here live from the Room to Room Weather Center.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.